Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. More protests in Hayes, Clarendon over police shooting. Reactions from at least one attorney following George Wright's exclusive interview with the Gleaner. And later in sports, Reggae girls lose 4-0 in friendly international against the United States. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. We begin with news of more fiery protests in Hayes, Clarendon as a third person succumbed to injuries arising from a motor vehicle crash on the weekend. Now, the police and the residents have been at odds over whether the vehicle in question was shot up by the lawmen. The protests have now spilled over into Lionel Town. Our correspondent Hopeton Henry is on the phone and now joins us live. Hopeton, can you paint a picture as to what is happening right now in Hayes, Clarendon?
Good afternoon. Presently.
Yes, Hopeton, you can go ahead. Could you just tell us what is happening at the moment in Hayes, Clarendon? We're hearing that protests have now spilled over and are getting worse.
Yes, there was fiery protests since 8 o'clock this morning where the resident mounted several roadblocks with fire. Each time the police come and put it out, then they return and have more fire. Now they show no respect for the police, but as soon as the military team reach, they could see protesters running in nearby bushes and also to their premises. There are also more JDF personnel rolling in tankers and all that. But as it is, there are some persons who still had a man that they will have to still have their voice heard, so some persons still lingering. What they are saying, though, that they are not pleased with the way the police is handling the situation, and also they are not telling the truth, and they will not stop until they get justice.
What exactly are the residents alleging, Hopeton?
I didn't hear the clearance. Sorry about that.
What exactly are the residents alleging?
They are alleging that the police acted out of... They are alleging that the police did not actually chase the personnel. They actually shoot up the car. That's what they are insist on. But however, the police are saying that they have no evidence of that. In the community, though, they are tense calm right now. Several roadblocks have been mounted in the community itself to avoid people from coming in and out. They are also asking for counseling for some of the residents who are also traumatized at this time.
How has traffic been impacted by this?
Yes, even some businesses in Lionel Town close the door. I'm not sure for how long they will do so, but motorists is moving to a one-lane traffic in areas, but in Lionel.
Okay, so we're having some disturbances there to the line of our colleague Hopeton Henry. He's our Clarendon correspondent, giving us the latest on a developing story in Clarendon where 3 persons now, we understand, have died following an incident at the weekend. We'll continue to track that story and we'll have the latest for you in subsequent newscasts. To another developing story now, investigators in the Kingston Western Police Division have listed 3 men as persons of interest in the probe of a deadly shooting in Trenchtown, Kingston on Sunday. Now they are Kimo Roach, Kimo Tingle, otherwise called Not Nice, and a man known only as CJ. The men are being asked to report to the Denham Town Police Station by 6 p.m. Monday, that's today. Now, a 16-year-old is among 2 persons killed in the incident. Our reporter Kirk Wright is in the area and now joins us live. Well, we'll have to join Kirk a little bit later as we sort out our technical issues to get Kirk live online. But our reporter Kirk Wright is in Trenchtown and we will be speaking to him on this story momentarily. Now, Jamaica recorded 14 COVID-19 deaths on Sunday. The island's death toll now stands at 988. 11 of the deaths were from Manchester, 2 from St. Anne, and 1 from Kingston and St. Andrew. Meanwhile, there were 79 COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours. The overall case count is now 49,356. The positivity rate has increased to 11.4%. The number of persons hospitalized with the virus is now 128. 13 are critically ill and 24 are moderately ill. there are 20,237 active cases. And we now go back to that story with Kirk Wright, as investigators in the Kingston Western Police Division have listed 3 men as persons of interest in the probe into a deadly shooting in Trenchtown. This happened on Sunday. Now the men are Kimo Roach, Kimo Tingle, otherwise called Not Nice, and a man known only as CJ. Now the men are being asked to report to the Denham Town Police Station by 6 p.m. today. A 16-year-old is among 2 persons killed in the incident. Now our reporter Kirk Wright is in the area and now joins us live. Kirk, could you give us an idea of the mood in the area right now? What is happening?
One good way to describe it, Giovanni, is pandemonium. Moments before you joined, we heard explosions. Shortly after, we saw police officers with gun in hand. We're not sure who they're looking for. We're not sure who fired the shot, but clearly something happened. But from last night, when news broke that the girl Damoya Hall had passed after being shot in the head, the residents here began to cry. It was doom and gloom over this community on 3rd Street. The information we have is that she was washing dishes when gunmen pounced, shooting her and another man that man has since died sometime this morning. But the residents here are concerned about the actions of the police. Many of them have expressed that. In fact, the Member of Parliament, Mark Golden, did the same thing this morning too. He's saying that there needs to be increased police presence, better police presence. The councillor, Mr. Wright, or Neville Wright, shared the same sentiments. In fact, he's saying that the police are kind of stifled in doing their jobs by human rights group. As far as he's concerned, the police knows who the killers are. He says they should be free to go and get them without fear of being chastised, for want of a better word. So he's saying sometimes we need to put human rights aside, the human rights of one person aside, for many other people. At the moment, though, we have the principal from the school that the young lady attended. They're here. We have brief counselors in the community, because people are saying that some of the students who are here can't get to do Zoom classes or go to school. So counseling is important. At the moment, people are on the street, people are grieving, people are talking, and the people are just wanting justice overall. Giovanni?
All right, thank you so much, Kirk Wright. Comprehensive update there from our colleague Kirk Wright to the situation in Trenchtown, and we'll definitely have more on that story from Kirk Wright in primetime news at 7 o'clock this evening. 3 reactions now to that George Wright interview done by the Gleaner. O'Shane Masters has been following this story and now joins us live. O'Shane, what's the latest on this story?
Thanks, Gio. Now, well, it has been a long time coming. The man who has had the country in a tailspin over allegations of beating a woman on a video. Now, in the Gleaner interview, he refused to comment on the allegations, but was more direct when asked about his future as an MP.
I've been working over the years, and the people know that I'm easily reached, so they will still connect with me wherever I go.
Now, well, Gia, as you would imagine, social commentators and advocacy groups have been practicing or reacting amid calls for him to resign as the MP. Now, I spoke with the executive director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, Jeanette Calder, who said that the Association of Civil Society will be meeting later this evening to decide what should be the next step in the matter relating to George Wright. Now, she says a release will be released shortly after the meeting is held today at 7 o'clock. Now, attorney at law Nicole Gordon, who was a guest on Radio Jamaica's That's a Wrap yesterday, now she took the issue with Mr. Wright's response to the question about crossing the floor or rejoining the JLP, to which he answered, and I quote, "No comment."
In the beginning, of course, the JLP had said something, sort of separated themselves or attempted to at the very least. But because this matter of crossing the floor has arisen, and because he has now sort of not responded to that, I do believe that it is also incumbent on the People's National Party to indicate in very clear terms, I don't know what it is, but they do need to indicate for the public what their position is in relation to him.
The attorney says from the interview she expected an outright denial of the allegations, but to date that has not been forthcoming.
If it was not him, then he needs to say so categorically, and I will say the inverse. If it in fact was him, then I say very clearly, I do not believe that gentleman, if it was him, is fit to be a representative of people in Parliament. The standard of our representative cannot end at the legal standard. There is a moral imperative for our representatives to act with integrity. They owe that to us because we have delegated authority to them to serve our interests. So at the heart of it, Earl, is governance. And what governance means is that I have to be able to trust my representatives.
And Gio, we expect the responses to pour in later this week. More reports, that is.
All right, thanks so much, O'Shane Masters, with that report and update on the George Wright matter. Now it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when you return.